What's up, guys? Justin Morgan here, Carved Up Vegan Muscle, and this is part 2 of the Wednesday Q&A for this first week in December. And the first question, or I guess it's a second video, so the second question comes from my good buddy Indim from Hot Chocolate Fitness, and he says, which do you prefer more, strongman or powerlifting? And the answer to that is strongman, and the reason is that I think there are several reasons. One, there's more variety in the events, so there's more there's just a lot more going on with it. And I'll go into detail on these in just a second. I enjoy training the events better, and in my experience, the people that I've been around as of late in strongman are just a lot more fun to me. They're a lot more personable, and they're just more pleasant to be around than some of the people that I've been around in powerlifting. Powerlifting is an excellent sport. Depending on where you go, there's probably many people that have many great things to contribute in terms of powerlifting, but just the people that I've been around I really enjoy, and I really like the camaraderie and the atmosphere when I'm with those guys and training for strongman. But in terms of the events themselves, for powerlifting, there's only 3 events. You have the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. It's always going to be that way. For strongman, there is a limited number of events that you typically do, and then all those probably 20 different events, there are probably 3 or 4 different ways that you may implement them. So you may do heavy stones if you're loading Atlas stones, like I posted up a video of me doing not too long ago. Or you could do speed stones, so you're doing lighter stones for speed at, and we do that at the gym. So there's deadlifts, but then you could also do power steps. You could do an 18-inch deadlift. You can do an axle bar deadlift. There are an infinite number of ways to do the deadlifts, and each of one of them is different and requires different skill, different technique. For when you show up to a strongman competition, there is a given weight that you're going to use. So you may say, hey, what am I thinking of? The yoke walk is going to be 500 pounds for your weight class, and you have to carry it, say 50 feet to get to finish your time. And whoever has the fastest time doing 50 feet is the winner. They get the most points for that event. Whereas in powerlifting, you get to choose your weight. So if you're not able to actually do the events in strongman, then you're just not strong enough and you zero out on the events. In powerlifting, you don't have that. You can be as weak or as strong as you want to be. So I think there is more competitiveness in that way. In strongman, there's a hierarchy in it. So you can be an amateur, you can be a pro. Whereas in powerlifting, I could go to a competition tomorrow and share a stage with Brandon Lilly, who is infinitely more experienced and much stronger than I am. So there's something kind of in strongman to work towards, whereas your first day in powerlifting, you're already on the same stage as the pros. So I guess that's not really why I personally prefer it, but that is an element that I think contributes to the atmosphere of the sport. I do like the variety and the technique necessary to be successful in strongman. There's a lot of technique that's involved in, say, like the kegs or the log overhead press and loading stones. A lot of people, no matter how strong you are, if you've never loaded a stone before, it's going to be difficult for you, and you may get really good at it really quickly as you develop the technique, but there is a lot of technique that is involved into it. So it is more, in my opinion, like a legitimate sport, whereas powerlifting, even though I love it, and it is also a legitimate sport, it's more like a sport of exercise in a way. I hate to say that because I don't necessarily agree with that. I heard somebody else say that, it would rub me the wrong way, because these are events. The squat is also, to just go in and squat as an exercise is a much different way of squatting than to just go in and squat for training to increase, as an event to practice it. But I guess, I don't know, there's just a lot. It changes the relationship and the way that the sport itself gets associated. So the next question was, and I probably should have answered this one first, but why did you switch back to cooked food? So I followed a raw vegan diet for a long time. And over the course of having this channel, I decided I didn't really want to do that anymore. And the reason is pretty simple, that I just didn't see any benefit to it. I know some of my friends on Facebook, like Rosine Renner, would argue with that and disagree. She would say, every time I go to back to cooked foods, I feel bad and I gain weight. And I'm not sure what her caloric intake is like, if it's the same, but I haven't found there to be anything magical about following a raw vegan diet versus a whole foods vegan diet. I feel really good on both of them, and I find there's a lot more variety of foods when eating cooked foods. I find that it's easier to adapt into social situations. I'm already going into restaurants and having to ask, hey, which we don't go out to eat very often, usually just once a month, but I'm already going into asking, hey, do you have butter in this? Do you add milk? Do you cook these things? And these things, it's already really kind of burdensome, which is why I don't go out to eat very often, to have to ask all these questions about just to a waiter who doesn't know and has to go back to the kitchen and ask anyways. So it's just it's very much easier in that scenario, but it's also easier for variety in terms of cooking, variety for me to share the same foods that my wife and kids eat, because they're not really interested in following a raw diet. It's much, much cheaper. There's just an infinite number of reasons, but when you boil down to it, I just do it out of preference, and it gives me a larger variety, and I don't really see any personal benefit to following a 100% raw diet. I do still eat many raw foods, much of which is fruit. So in that way, my diet's not that different, but I guess it is, because I have a lot more variety and I choose my meals differently. So some days are more fruitarian, just because that's what I have, and I'm doing that, but I never really do any 100% raw days anymore, nor will I probably ever. I can enjoy the fruit and I can enjoy the cooked food too, and I get more variety and the best of both worlds. So that's really my only reasoning for that. There's nothing really substantial other than that. So I will be back with you guys for just a couple other questions in a part 3. So you take it easy, and I'll talk to you in part 3.